We'll do a review in the Sichas in Chelek Chof in volume 20. This is the Sicha for Lech Lecha and Zayin Marcheshvan, the seventh day of Marcheshvan. The seventh day of Marcheshvan is when we start in Eretz Yisrael saying V'sein Talamota Livrocha, and the reason that we wait is because that gives a chance the people who went to Oil Leregel to go back home without getting caught in the rain. So we delay it, and it's also today without the Lila Regel, it's still considered a continuation of the visit to the Beis Hamikdash in the Shoulder Shregolim. So basically, it it seals. The visit by Zion Marcheshvan seals the end. This marks the end of the Yom Tov. So the question is, how come then? That means that everybody is going back home, and they used to be in Yerushalayim. They came to visit, and now it's ended. They're gone. They're back home. Why would we be reading always, every time Zayim Marcheshvan is in the portion of Lech Lecha? Lech Lecha means to leave your home. And why would we reading Lech Lecha at the time that we're actually coming back home? And the Rebbe will explain that coming back home and doing the Kavanah, the Avodah, is the real Lech Lecha. That's really you're going places when you come back home and you do the Avodah, not when you're in the Beis HaMikdash and enjoying and appreciating all the spiritual experiences in Yerushalayim, in the Beis HaMikdash, but it's Lech Lecha when you go back. As the Rebbe will explain. Let's go step by step. Lech Lecha Marcheshvan Aleph. Zayin Marcheshvan faltois allemol in der Woch from Parshas Lech Lecha. The seventh day of Marcheshvan will always come out in the week that we read the portion of Lech Lecha. Based on what we know, based on what is known as the Moya de Hashono. So Moyadei, the times of the year, have a connection from Loshen Miyud as Spitzeler Zman. Moyadei, meaning here in the context, not a festival. Normally Moyad means a festival. Zayin Marcheshvan is not a festival. But Moyadei Hashonah means times of the year, a specific time for Loshen Miyud as Spitzeler Zman. It's special time, which means a special time in the year, which is in this case the 7th of Marcheshvan, is always in the Parshas Lech Lecha. The special time has a connection to the portion that we read during that time. They have a connection to the portions in which they come out. Now, a lot of special days come out in different times of the week. In our case, it's always Parshas Lech Lecha. So there has to be a connection from 7th Marcheshvan, that special day of 7th Marcheshvan, with Lech Lecha. How Mashayches is moving is also, it's understood. As Euch Zayin Marcheshvan, that also the 7th day of Marcheshvan hat a Teuchendike Verbund mit Parshas Lech Lecha. It has a connection, a tie in contents with the portion of Lech Lecha. Ubefrat especially. It's not just that sometimes it falls out to find a connection between the date and the parsha. It always is on Parshas Lech Lecha. Befrat, Azayin Marcheshvan faltois alemol, the 7th of Marcheshvan always comes out in Parshas Lech Lecha, in Parshas Lech Lecha, I said before. Nit wie in andere moyadim, unlike in other special days or Yom Tovs, was there kvias in the Parshias, Zayin and Chal, that the setting up, the way they come in the Parsha, Beitzich Mishon Lashon, changes from year to year. one year that date will be in this parsha, then another parsha. So the fact that it's always parshas Lecha points to even more significance that what happened in Zion Marcheshvan, that special day, is related to Lech Lecha. What happened in Zion Marcheshvan? In Zion Marcheshvan zog the Mishnah says about 7th of Marcheshvan. Ados is their tog when shoyden esagishomim. That's the day that you start asking for rain. The same talumot of livracha. Tezvav yoim achar achag. That's 15 days after Sukkot, the end of Sukkot. The reason is kedei sheyagia achren shebi Yisrael in har pros. So that even the one who is the last and the furthest of the Yidden should at least come to the Nahar Pros, to the Euphrates River, to come to the Nahar Pros. Takes 15 days from the end of Sukkot. When Azois gepasken the Halacha and Rambam, that's also ruled the Halacha and the Rambam that you start asking 15 days after Yom Tov. In Rambam v'Shulchan Aruch. As Be'eretz Yisrael, in Eretz Yisrael, Heitman on Sheil Zayin Geshomim B'Zayin Marcheshvan. That in Eretz Yisrael, you start to ask for rain on the 7th of Marcheshvan. Unlike in Chutz La'aretz, it depends, goes by the general calendar, 5th of December, 4th, 5th of December. Per statement, so we understand. Ados is nit belois asiba shlilis. So this is not only a reason, a negative sin, because you don't want the people getting caught in the rain. So the reason we don't say what is unique about 7 Marcheshvan, they shouldn't get wet, they shouldn't get rained in. So that's why there is that special day that we don't ask. We only start from that day on, from 7th Marcheshvan. But as the Geshems only Gedum sein Kind Zar zu Aiden, so that the rain should not cause pain to a Yid, Bizer vet Onkumen the base of Gvul, until he will come to his home, which is at the end of the boundary. So he should also be able to get home before the rain starts. So that seems to be a negative reason. So it's more than that. It's understood. There's also a positive. It means that you still haven't fully left until Zayin Marcheshvan. Nor as bis Shiva b'Cheshvan, till the 7th of Cheshvan, is as noch als a hemshech von der Aliyah l'regel de Chag HaSukkos. Until the 7th of Cheshvan is still considered to be a continuation from going up for the holiday of Sukkot. As is mefurish in Shach, as it's articulated in the Sifsei Kohen on the Shulchan Aruch, that the whole Pam Shahoyu Yisrael Oilim Regel, every time when the Yidden went up for the Yom Tov, Lahoyu Yecholim La'agir Lebateyem Achar Regel, they could not come back home to reach their homes after Yom Tov. Elo b'tezvav yom, it took them 15 days. It would appear to them as if they are still in Eretz Yisrael, asukim binyonei haregel, preoccupied in the matters of the Yom Tov. So there's still Yom Tov, there's still matters. Kozman shelo yoivrim hanor agod nahar pros, as long as they did not pass the great river, the Euphrates River, they were still sort of in the, almost like in Eretz Yisrael, they felt, still occupied in Yom Tov. So which really means, those haste that Zayin Marcheshvan is their tog. That means that 7th of Marcheshvan is the day, was is madgish, them gemar ha'ilu valil reka. That emphasizes the finish of that going and elevating up, going up for the Yom Tov. It's over. The 7th emphasized now that is over. That points to the meaning of the descent from the elevation. There was the Aliyah L'Regel, now it's the descent. Eden kumen arop from der Shleimus HaKedusha in Beis HaMikdash B'Yerushalayim. The Jewish people are descending from the wholesome holiness that they experience in Beis HaMikdash Yerushalayim. Jeder einer kommt zu sein Ort, everyone comes to their place. Tachas Kafnei v'tachas te'enosei, under his vine and under his victory, meaning the Eretz Yisrael, or the Chutz La'aretz, either Eretz Yisrael, Chutz La'aretz, everybody's home. That's the 7th of Marcheshvan. Bis zu dem Achrein shebi Yisrael, till the last one in Chutz La'aretz, last one, the Grechendig dem Nahar Pros, you reach up till last Jew in Chutz La'aretz reached the Nahar Pros. So that's the descent. That is what Zayin Marcheshvan is. So Zayin Marcheshvan, and we should say that there's a connection to the Parshas Lech Lecha. So the Rebbe's question is, here we're talking about Zayin Marcheshvan, the end of the descent, of the elevation. And Lech Lecha seems to talk about the beginning of the elevation. So how do we connect these two things together? Oisbeis. Lifizeh darf man verstehen die Sheiches zu Parshas Lech. So according to this, that this is the 7th day of Marcheshvan, is the end of the Aliyah, going back home. How is this connected to the Parshas Lech? Wo es redt sich so base, Lifizeh darf man verstehen die Sheiches zu Parshas Lech Lecha, to Parshas Lech. So we need to understand the connection of the portion of Lech. Wo es redt sich muss is mutigisch der Hepech. Over there is discussed and it's emphasized the opposite. Lech Lecha me'artzcha me'moladatcha, to leave your land and your place of birth, me'beis avich, and your father's home, ela oretz asher ar'eko, to the land that I'll show you, to Eretz Yisrael. Now the parsha is talking that Hashem is showing him where to go, and that's going to go to Eretz Yisrael. Here, Zion Cheshvan is we left Eretz Yisrael. The Alicha v'Aliyah in the parsha is talking about the journeys and the elevation from Avraham from his place and his country. He's leaving outside of Eretz Yisrael, Choron, Eretz Yisrael, to go to Israel. The Rebbe says, but although in the beginning of this Sedra we actually read about going down to Mitzrayim, but that's not the name of the parish that happened. In one of the stories, the main is Lech Lecha. That zählt as Vayered Avram Mitzrayim, that Avram descended Mitzrayim, is the Chaber Bavust, but it's known as the Teuchen Ikri von Yeder Sedra, that the main contents of every Sedra, Zok Tzicharis in their nomen, is expressed by its name. Ube Parsha Seinu is their nomen Lech Lecha. In our Parsha, it's called Lech Lecha. Was weist of der Alicha von Chutz La'aretz v'Aliyah in Eretz Yisrael. That points to the travel from Chutz La'aretz, outside of Eretz Yisrael, and elevating in Eretz Yisrael to Eretz Yisrael. Not leaving like Zayin Cheshvan. Ba'oid v'iker. So besides that, it's Lech Lecha. And that story part, they went down to Mitzrayim, is only a small part of it. Ba'oid v'iker, Reiva Sedre Kekula. The majority, as almost the entire Sedra, Red wegen Avram's Zayin in Eretz Yisrael, discusses Avram being in Israel. And here we're talking about leaving Eretz Yisrael. We're talking Zayin Cheshvan. Since everything in Torah is a lesson, is doch Paran Hayroe, and so there exists a lesson. Say in their Parshas Hashavua, whether the portion of the week, that is definitely, we know that Ki Yodua Toides Admor Azokin, as the teaching of the Alter Rebbe, as medav leben mit der Zeit, that we need to live with the times, which would be the Parshas Hashavua, the big portion. So for sure, we need to take a lesson from the portion of the week. I added the word for sure, but there is a lesson from the portion of the week, and also Sayin them Inyan from Zayin Marcheshvan, also from the 7th day of Marcheshvan. So how do we combine these two lessons? One leaving Eretz Yisrael and one going to Eretz Yisrael. So it requires explanation. How do these two matters come together? Which are opposite ideas, contents, one from the other. So we're learning to go to Eretz Yisrael, Lech Lecha, and we're learning about leaving Eretz Yisrael, Zayin Marcheshvan. Ubefrat, the Rebbe says, especially as the Inyan Anal from Zayin Marcheshvan. So you're going to say today it doesn't really apply because we're not leaving Yerushalayim, we're not doing L'Regel, there's no Beis Hamikdash. But the Rebbe says the lesson is also for us today, because this idea Zayin Marcheshvan is nita Inyan Basis Given Shayich. It's not a matter that only applied nor Bisman Shebeis Hamikdash or Yakayim just during the time when the Beis Hamikdash was in existence. Ben Hot Oile Given L'Regel, when you actually went up for the Yom Tov. Nor she's euch shaykh to Eden b'chol hazmanim. It also belongs, connects to Eden at all times. Was der far? That's why it connects. Is shoyliness agishomim b'zayin b'marcheshvan. That's why the halacha is when do we start Mashi Baruch? When do we start Saint Talamotor? Shoyliness agishomim is on Zayin Marcheshvan be'Eretz Yisrael. Euch b'zman hazeh. Chutz l'Eretz not, but in Eretz Yisrael also nowadays. Wie der Alter Rebbe bringt da Rabbi Shulchan Aruch, as the Alter Rebbe brings this down in his code of law, that af la'achar ha'churban, quoting, that even after the churban, how you misasvin gamkein mikol ha'svivas b'Yerushalayim, people would gather from all surrounding areas to Yerushalayim, l'regel on the Yom Tov, k'moshe oisim gam hayom, as we do today, lefikach, and because of that, lo bitlu takonos chachomim, so they did not negate that institution of the sages, shetiknu hashaylo be'eretz Yisrael b'zayin b'marcheshvan, that instituted that you ask for the rain in Eretz Yisrael on the 7th day Marcheshvan, even though it doesn't apply, because it does apply today, as the Alter Rebbe says, because now two people gather and they finally leave at the 7th, so it's applicable today as well. So you're going to say, okay, so the lesson, maybe it's for the people in Israel, but it also has to be for the people in the Chutz La'aretz as well. Because Zayin Marcheshvan is connected also to the people in Chutz La'aretz, which start saying the Saint Talamotar later on. Und das ist euch negeh b'chol ha'mekoymes. This is also connected in all places. Euch b'chutz La'aretz, also in outside of Eretz Yisrael. The Shach sagt, as the Sivsekoin says, as oib mishreibt in ashtar. If a person writes in a document, achar haregel, and what is the definition after the Yom Tov, after regel? Meintas tez vov yoim achar haregel. What it means is 15 days after the regel. That's considered the connection to the regel. Like the Mishnah now, based on the above Mishnah, Gav quoting the Shach Da'ashta non begoyle, even though we're in exile, the language after the Yom Tov is extended from them. So today too, this is Achar HaRegel. Basically, that means that in Chutz La'aretz, not in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, there is still Achar HaRegel up till the Zayin of Cheshvan for 15 days. So we're leaving the regel, we're leaving Yom Tov, and here Lech Lecha is going to Eretz Yisrael. So first, the Rebbe says the idea of working with the mundane things, plowing and working the fields, which you do when you're back home, that has an advantage over being in Eretz Yisrael, but still doesn't explain that it's going, Lech Lecha is going from Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael. Here we're saying that, okay, there's an advantage of Chutz La'aretz over Eretz Yisrael. That is going to bring out eventually that actually there is going from Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael is expressed in a way when you are in Chutz La'aretz over here, as we'll see. But let's look first inside Gimel. The Rebbe is first going to say now that Etzem Inyan, the idea itself, as in der Avoide von Eden Avegeindik from Beis Hamikdash, that the service of a Yidden when they left the Beis Hamikdash is do on Ilui. There is an advantage, was mitzad dem yesh loimar, that because there is an advantage, as es wird angerufen Lech Lecha, that this is also called going Lech Lecha. This is a level Aliyah. Question is Aliyah Teretz Yisrael, but Aliyah generally we understand. Was weißt of Aliyah is Muvah. That we understand that there is an elevation. That it's specifically when Jews reach each one to his home and a place. A person plows, a person sows. Macht jeder Yid von seinen Dvorim Gashmi, so then every Yid makes from his physical matter a dwelling place for him, blessed in the lower words. Durch Torah mitzvahs, through Torah mitzvahs, because that's what you observe when you get home and you're plowing and you're sowing. All your acts are done for the sake of heaven. Know Hashem in all your ways. So that's accomplished when he comes back home. That's an aliyah. That's in a level of lech. It is going. But this doesn't apply so much when you are in Yerushalayim in the Beis Hamikdash during the festival. You don't have any connection, association with working the ground, to go to business, generally with weekly matters. When you're in Yom Tov, when you're in the Yerushalayim, and you're in Beis Hamikdash, mitachtoinim, you're not involved. Aber from Zayin Marcheshvan on, but then when after Zayin Marcheshvan, when Eden Heuben Tzirik on, they start again Charisha to plow the chulu. Machem from Dvorim Tachtoinim Adira Lo Yizborach. They make from this lower matters a dwelling place for him, blessed. Which is an advantage of light from darkness, not just light as it is in the Beis Hamikdash in the Yerushalayim, but you're taking the Dvorim Tachtoinim and you make it into it's the Yisrael Oim Nacheshach. B'meila vert an aliyah, Lech Lecha B'Yidin, that becomes an aliyah. B'dugmas Amvur B'kamen B'koim has been engaged to the Yerida Aklolis, similar to what's explained in many places. With regards to the general descent, Yeridus HaNeshama Lamata B'Olam Hazeh, when the Neshama descends here in this world, as Durchir Avodah Lamata in Dvarim Gashmim, that through the work in the physical matters, to machen die Welt Adira Lo Yizborach, to make this world a dwelling place for him, Vertzin is alle Hecher, the world becomes higher, is given freer than it was before, before it descended below. So basically, this is the general idea that a neshama is elevated through the descent of this world. Similar way, when you go away from Yerushalayim and you're working, that is an elevation. But this doesn't explain general elevation. But here we're saying Lech Lecha, specifically, you're going to Eretz Yisrael. Das ist aber nicht maspik levayer the shayches to Parshas Lecha. This is not sufficient to explain the connection to the portion of Lech Lecha. Vidosis bepshuta shemikra, as it's in the simple meaning of the verse. As es retzich wegen alichas Avram from Chutz La'aretz Eretz Yisrael, that we're discussing about Avram going from Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael. That's what the parsha is talking about. Not talking about just elevation. We're talking about going from Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael. Es ist mudgesh, wo es ist mudgesh der Lech Lecha, and which is emphasized the walking, the traveling, the hiluch from Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael. We're talking about that journey from Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael. So we're not just saying that you're getting an elevation, you're working with the Gashmis. We're saying something that is becoming Eretz Yisrael. And that needs to be explained. How does this going to Eretz Yisrael associate with when you leave Eretz Yisrael and you go back to plowing and sowing? Ois Dalet. Bet man das verstehen, behagdim achiluk, will understand this by first introducing the difference between the Maimed und Matzah von Eden, Ba'aliyos und Regel, how the standing, the situation of the Yidden was when they went up to the holiday to Yerushalayim, to the Beis Hamikdash. They found themselves before Hashem. And measure that relative to their standing and situation, which everyone is on their place. Everybody's under his vine and under his fig tree, which means they're home. But they're not before Hashem. This is as understood that this is a descent relative to their standing and condition. Hashem, when you are standing before Hashem. There is an advantage and there is an elevation specifically because you are far. Not in the place that Hashem chose, but you're away from there. And the Rebbe sagt, we can find a similar example for this matter in the revealed part in Torah, the chiluk, the difference between a sochir and a shaliach, between a person who is a hired worker and a person who is an agent. While a sochir works where the owners are, and a shaliach is sent. A sochir is like working while there's aliyah l'regel. A shaliach is when he's sent away. A sochir is aveidose b'derech klal in the mort from the bailim. Generally speaking, a hired person, you work in the place where the owners are there. Oder b'mokem mit nichse habaylim. Or in a place in which the assets of the owner are. You're hired, you're doing some work for the owner in his place. On the other hand, a shaliach is b'derech klal nid b'mokem habaylim. A shaliach, he sent a shaliach, an agent. Generally speaking, he's not in the place where the owners is there. That's actually pointed out when we call it the language, what's called a shaliach gufa. He's sent as weggeschickt from the meshaleach, that he's being sent away from the one who's sending. He's sending him away. He's sending him a shlichus. I see, and also that which he's doing, the shaliach, is lav davke verbunden mit chefze habayla. He's not necessarily connected with the objects of the owner. He's doing something for him, not associated like a socher that works for the owner. Shaliach meant, what a shaliach means is not that he's working. That he does whatever he does, nothing that is owned, whatever he's doing something for the sender. And that also tells us, and there's also a difference in what a shaliach and what a sochir is. a hired worker is mainly doing it for himself to get his pay. A shaliach is mainly doing it for the sender. There's also a difference in the content. What is a sochir, a hired person, or similar to that? And a shaliach, a sochir is kol asiyosei zu libzich. His entire doing is for himself. Kedei liskabel suchorei, in order to get his pay. And to the pay is that he's carrying his soul, he's putting himself in danger to get the money, to get rewarded. That's the main work of the sochir, is for himself. Le'idoch, der musik from shliach is, on the other hand, the concept of a shliach is as the pu'ula maisa b'ser tut, that the action and the act that he does is be'ikir, is mainly nit for sich, he's not doing it for himself, nor for the meshalech, he's doing something for the sender. And the riber is a sochir v'bald as in yonei is v'ser tut tzlib zich, a hired person, since conceptually, what is the idea he's doing for himself? Is a shakla v'tariyat, so there's a give and take. Tzi zayin maise, can zayin v'maisa sochir. Can we count his action as if the action of the one who hired him? Gerechen v'de balabayis hot giton de maise. Can it be considered that the owner who hired him did that action because he's doing it mainly for himself? So there's a debate, there's a question, but the shliach, hagamer is nit in dem ort was wo es is der mishalech. Even he's not in the place where the sender is. Since mainly he does it for the sender, is the asiya from dem shliach ki ilu v'dem mishalech otes giton. So the doing of the shliach, it's as if the sender did it. Or the nochmer. Not only we consider in shlichus itself, there's various different ways of understanding it. There's one that we consider it as if the mashleach did it, or even more, nochmas, the ma'aser gufa is zich misyachet zu mishalech. It's not that it's as if he did it, but the mishalech is doing it right now. Das heißt, as the mishalech tut durch den shliach, the mishalech is doing it, but through the shliach. But who is doing it? The mishalech. Bis zum Hechtnei von den Shluchas Loden Kamaisei. And then there's a third, more highest level in being a shliach, which is like the person is Kamaisei Mamish. That you become like the person, not just in that agent, what you're doing for him, but you become like that person as nit nor the Maisa Shliach. It's not only that the act of the Shliach, which the first level you're doing, counts for the sender, and then the act of the shliach is as if the meshalech is doing it, or the shliach gufa, the whole entity of the shliach himself, becomes the entity of the meshalech. It's a much higher connection there. Was der Far helft us euch in azelche inyonim. That's why it can also help a shliach in such aspects, such areas, was the mashalech dat bedavke aleinton, that the mashalech needs to do it by himself, and still the shliach is considered, he is the mashalech now. So the three general steps in the level of shliach she'odom kemoisei is whether we consider what he does, that it is the it's counted for the Mishalech, or it's as if the Mishalech is doing it, or if the whole person is the Mishalech. That's by Shlichus versus Schiras. It's questionable, and it's not so simple, because Schiras, mainly, you're doing it for itself. Hey, the Rebbe wants to say that the similar idea, while the Yidden are in Eretz Yisrael, in Yerushalayim, by Lila Regel, they're mainly doing it for themselves. They're enjoying it. They're getting a insight. So it's for themselves. But when they come to home, over there, they're more like a shliach. They get, and because they're far away, they get a higher level. As the Rebbe said, it turns out because they're no longer next to, they can become a shliach. When they're in Yerushalayim and they're by the Beis Hamikdash and they get all the pay, reward by the spiritual levels that they're gaining, they're only a sochim. But when they go away, they become a shliach. Me'ein zeh yesh loimar, similar to this, is the chilik beruchni, spiritually the difference between the Avodas Yisrael and the service of a Yid Bal Yosem L'Regel. When they go up for the holidays, Zayin dik lifnei Hashem, when they are before Hashem, b'mekom habayla, meaning they're in the place where the owners are. That's where Hashem is revealed. And the other hand, unzeir avoda, and how it differs when their services tachas gafnei b'tachas teinosei, when they're on their vine and under their fig tree. Aliyosem L'Regel, when they go up for the holiday, is bazei given yeroa kol zechruchas pnei oden avaya. Over there, it was all the males were seeing the face of the Master Hashem. That was an experience that they experienced. Or it's Panei. You're by the face of the Master. That's the king where he is. That's where the Master is. As Panei Hashem Lecha, it's by the face of God your God. Over there was Riyas Alakus. There was a seeing, a sighting, a vision of godliness. It's just as he came to be seen by Hashem, he also comes to see. The Eden came to see. And to absorb themselves, that revelation of godliness that was in the Beis Hamikdash. That took place when the Eden came Aliyah L'Regel. They see those 10 miracles that took place to our forefather in the Beis Hamikdash. They saw the place where the divine is. The Kohanim were doing their service, the Levim were on the platforms doing their song. The Yidden were stationed in their stations at the place and where they were watching the Korbanos. Is the als kaviyochel an inyan zu sich. This is all, so to speak, for themselves. They der Herren, they sense und shepen, and they take, they fill their buckets with Gilu Shechina, with the revelation of the divine. Bedugmas neshamis began Eden was nenim miziva Shechina. This is similar to the souls in Gan Eden that enjoyed the Shekhinah. And they, in this world, when we're in Beis HaMikdash, we're benefiting and enjoying us as the divine presence. But the fact that they left, and when everybody came back to their place, B'zayim Marcheshvan, on the 7th of Marcheshvan, is doch nit kidei liras es b'nei goymer. That's not in order to see Hashem. There's all the Herren and feeling Getlichkeit so that he should sense and feel godliness. That's on the contrary, this he had on a much greater way when that is given the when he was in the place that Hashem chooses to rest his name there. Lifnei Hashem Yerushalayim beBeis Hamikdash. Before Hashem in Yerushalayim in the Beis Hamikdash. Nor zu ausführen die Kavone und Schliches von dem Ebersten. So, why is he leaving over there? He has a much greater and much higher level of connection and appreciation and seeing godliness and everything while he was. Why did he leave? But that is to fulfill the intention of Hashem, nor zu ausführen die Kavone und Schliches von dem Ebersten. To fulfill the intent and the mission from Hashem, If Mekayim Zayin Torah mitzvahs, to fulfill Torah mitzvahs, ubechlolus, lasis lo yizbarach dira b'tachtonim, and generally, to make a dwelling place below, Torah mitzvah specifically, that's how we do it. But in any other way, to make this a place for Hashem. So you left the other place so that you can make this place, which is void of, doesn't have that level of illumination of a vision of godliness, and bring down Hashem in this world. Is dafke damud verter ashliach. So that's when he can become a shliach, when he's away. Shlucha shalodim el kimaisei, that the shliach of the supreme man becomes like kimaisei. Shlucha shalodim, in this case, Odom Elyon from Hashem, you become kimaisei. Kimaisei mamish from kaviyachol the meibshter. This is actually like becoming part of Hashem, because that's where you become a shliach, is when you're actually a distant away. Nois Zayin, the Rebbe, Nois Vav, the Rebbe explains that this is actually what happens, and Zayin Marcheshvan, that it's called Lecha, because that's the real walk. You become a whole new dargeh from being a metzias, like a sochir, to becoming a shaliach, a connection which is not about you, but it's about the Eibster, the Meshaleach, Vav. Apizei's move on was the avodah for Zayin Marcheshvan, umkehren sich von Aliyah Leregel, that the service of the seventh day of Cheshvan, when we return from this going up for the holidays, wird angerufen Lech, it's called Lecha. Amitis inyan ha'alicha, true concept, what does it mean to walk, is davke v'megeit ariber. It's specifically, it's only when you go transfer in a nayir dargeh legamre, in a totally new level. You go away from your previous and you're a new. That's what means going. Which is uncomparably higher from the dargeh whom is given freer than the level that you were before. Kiyadu, as we know, that is the liya of alicha. Licha means to go to a totally new level. Since before, when you went up for the Yom Tov, all the males should see. It was Zeyer Mitzias. It was your entity. You are the one that's supposed to see. Zey al snivroim zon zen. On their head and get l'chai, they, being as created beings, should be able to see and sense godliness. Kumt ois, so it turns out, as the avodah tachas gafne goimer, that the service that we do when we're under our vine, was in yon is oisfirin the kavonne v'rotzim von Ebershon. That is being under your thing, doing the working the Ebershon wants you to do. That's to accomplish the intent and the will from Hashem. That's why you're back home doing your work. That becomes is a halicha, it makes you a level. You're walking infinitely, uncomparable before. Benivra leboira is einarech, because between being a created being before, an entity, and now a shaliach of the Eibster, that's uncomparable. That's a real walk. That's a lecha. The river is the avodah from Torah mitzvahs. That's why that service of Torah mitzvahs lasis leizbarach dir betachtonim, to make for Hashem a dwelling place in the lower world, unable from Zayin Marcheshvan, coming from the seventh of Marcheshvan, starting with the seventh of Marcheshvan, or bundel mit Lecha, tied to Lecha. Because to really walk, that's why it is Lecha, it's going, because this is the true walk takes place when you go away from Eretz Yisrael and you come to Chutz Laretz, because in Eretz Yisrael is your mitzias, your seeing, your appreciation of godliness. In Chutz Laretz, you're there to do the work of Hashem, so you become a shaliach, and you connect on a much deeper, like a shliach, not like a sachir. Zayin. Apiko now, but when I versteht the Sheiches zu Shema Sedre Lech Lecha. Now specifically to the name Lech Lecha, wo es retzich wegen Heliches Avram Mechutz Laretz Eretz Yisrael, in which we talk about Avram going from Chutz Laretz Eretz Yisrael, how this relates to this idea of true Halicha. Avram Avinu, noch zayendik in Chutz Laretz, Avram, our father, while still in Chutz Laretz, hat Mefarsim given Elikus, he publicized godliness, und gebracht Menschen zu dienen dem Eibishter, he brought people to serve Hashem. The Pasuk says this, and the people that they made, that they converted, they brought them into the Kanfei HaShechina, they brought them close to Hashem. As related at length in the Medrashim of our sages of blessed memory. When the Rambam is Mevar Proteus, and the Rambam explains it in details about Avram Avinu, v'hischil loidia la'am, and he started to tell the people, she'en roi la'avdei, it is not fitting to serve, lavid, it's not fitting to serve, elo le'loka ha'elam, only to the God of the world. V'loi roi l'ishtachaves, to him it's fit to bow, to prostrate, to lahakriv, and to offer u'lenasich, to make libation, gedei sha'ikaru kol habruim haboyim chulu, so that he should be recognized by all the created beings that are in the world. He started to stand and call out in a loud voice to all of the world, and to let the whole world know there's just one God for the whole world, and he is fitting to serve. So he did work, he brought people while he was in Chutz Laretz. He already started this work, and he had people recognize Hashem, but it all came because of his intellectual understanding of Hashem. And that is still a metzias while he was in Chutz Laretz. Bald aber as das als is given mitzad dem. Was he kiddas boy the oldest came because of his recognition in Hashem, Abraham's recognition. Shehesik derecha emes. According to Rambam, he grasped the true path, behaving kavat tzedek, and he understood the righteous line mitvunos anachena from his proper understanding. Kumtois, it turns out, ados was at mefaris given a lukus, that he publicized godliness is mitzad zayin heker. Hikir is because of his recognition and the kenum von lukus. He recognized godliness, and that's what he shared. It's based on his entity, on his recognition, on his understanding. And since he recognized and he knew his chilahashiv shuvas, he began to respond. So then he went to let the people know, but the way you're going is not the truth. Ches. Noch dem is given der Tzivu for the Meibishten Lech Lecha. So on this and after this took place, there was the command from Hashem. No, there's more. Lech Lecha. Hashem makes him to a shliach after this. Von demult hat sich angeheben bei Abraham Anayin say that it started a new order. Hat megale given a lekus. He revealed godliness not from his recognition, but mitzat tzivui Hashem. Hashem told him, Lech Lecha, als shluchish l'HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as an agent of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Und der Riber is davke onkomendik in Eretz Yisrael. And that's why it was a big change. Specifically after, when he came to Eretz Yisrael, werd erzählt, vayis vayikro b'shem Hashem. He proclaimed the name of Hashem. He was doing this all along, but it's on a whole different level. He was doing it as a shliach. Although even before he publicized godliness in the world, as mentioned earlier, why is the Torah saying all of a sudden that he proclaimed godliness. But the Torah that zählt damit, the Torah relates with this as nit nor euch in Eretz Yisrael. Not only he continued also in Eretz Yisrael, hat megale gewen Elokus, he revealed godliness. Nor as nochun tziva havaya lech lecha. After, but the contrary, it's a whole new level now that he's revealing godliness. After Hashem told him lech lecha, it was given by Fanachal Gamli, was on a total different level now. Al derech pirush Rashi, similar as Rashi says, Achshav hu b'fri habrius, Achshav hu lekeh shemayim v'lekeh haaretz, that now the Eibishter is the God of the heavens, God of the earth, sheir galti b'fnei habrius, because the Eibishter, also all the people, Oretz, the people on the Oretz also know about him, not only in the Shemayim, because I got him comfortable, used to, and the people talking about him. But when he took me from my father's home, he was the Lekeh of Shemayim, the heavens, they knew about Hashem, but not in the earth. Not that he wasn't the God of the earth. They would not recognize, and his name was not common in the earth. The people in the world didn't recognize, didn't appreciate him. So it doesn't mean that they didn't praise him at all. They didn't appreciate him as a shliach. He publicized before as well, but he did it out of his own recognition. Versus now, Hagam azech b'chutz loretz. Even though that also when he was in chutz loretz, he publicized godliness in the world. But still, the people of the world did not recognize him. And his name was not accustomed. They didn't recognize him, and it wasn't common in the earth. When he calls over there in Eretz Yisrael in the name of Hashem, Zayndik in Eretz Yisrael, being in Eretz Yisrael, after the Lech Lecha, is hirgaltiv b'fri habriyas. Now I trained him. Now in the people's mouth, he's been accustomed to. In andere Wörter, using different words, the pirsum von Elokus Zayndik b'chutz loretz, the publicizing of godliness while he was outside of Eretz Yisrael, the Baldos is given verbunden mit sein Hakora, since this was tied to his recognition, is given in an Eufen as Welt is a besondere Sach, welches botet Zelekus. The recognition was that the world is something separate, but it is subjugated to godliness. So there is a world, and it's subjugated to Hashem. As opposed to the publicizing that take place after Lech Lecha, was his gekumen mitzad tzibur haboyre, that comes because of the command of the Creator, is given in an eifun from Vayikra Shom b'shem Havaya Kel Olam. Over there we said he called b'shem Hashem Kel Olam, not Kel Olam, or not Kel Olam. It's not Kel Olam. The world and godliness is the same. Not the God of the world, but God world as Welt mit der Lekus eine Kavyochel ein Zach, the God and the world is one thing. The world is not another entity of world which is bottled to God, but it's godliness itself. So that was accomplished from Lech Lecha, and that's what we're saying is what the Zion Marcheshvan does, that coming home you become a shaliach. That's when he became a shaliach. Yes, he was going to Eretz Yisrael, but it was the Lech Lecha. While to go to Eretz Yisrael, to be there a shaliach that gives the godliness in a way that the world becomes one with Hashem, not only that it's bottled to Hashem. That extra level of rogil baris, that takes place after he became a shaliach. Tess. Das is what the Pasuk sagt to Marek. This is also what the Pasuk says and spends and at length. Lech lecha me'artzcha me'velatecha me'beis avicha. Leave your land, your place of birth, your father's home. El ha'aretz ha'areka, to the land I'll show you. That Gosh is do Over here, the emphasis is not as Avram Zogain Etzro. It doesn't say go to Etzro. It's I'll show you land. Just leave. But the Iker is a Laroish game from Zayim Metzias. Over here in Lecha is not to go to Eretz Yisrael, but the main thing is leave where your entity, yourself, go out of yourself. Leave your land, your place of birth, your father's home. The Chassidus touched this up, as Chassidus translate, Ma'artzcha means from thine Eretzoinus. Artzcha means your wants. From your place of birth means from thine Gewohnheit. No midas. That's from you think that you become accustomed to your emotions. From your father's home, from thine Chochma. Leave your wishes and leave your habits and emotions. Leave your intellect. Leave them all behind. Go out from your Metzias. Afal Pi was by Avram is given in Kedusha Velikus. Although by Avram this was all holiness and godliness, it's still your land. It's Turcha. It's still the entity of the person. It's his Hakore. You have to leave the Zainer to meet the It's his wishes, emotional. Taka de Kedusha, it's Kedusha. But Ametzi is the Kedusha, but it's still an entity of Kedusha. So the Rebbe says, Ela Oretz Asher Ar Eka. Go to the land that I will show you. And I've gained in der Eretz Avodah. You have to go to the land. That's the type of service was unvi der Eibishter Weiston in the way that Hashem points to. Asher Ar Eka, I will show you. Follow Hashem, not your wishes and not your, and just go after Hashem. And this accomplished a tremendous, uncomparable elevation in Avram. As it is given Ashliach Hashem, he became an agent of Hashem. But through this, is given Tzavso v'chibur. This brought the connection and the togetherness from Nivra Midboider, from the Creator and the created being. That was the preparation to the connection of the upper and the lowers that Matan Torah accomplished, that Aniyah Maschil, that the Eberster came down, and Moshe Omar Alei, the Chibur al Yonim V'Tachtoin. Yud. This is the hero was Menem Tarois from Zayin Marcheshvan. This is the lesson that we learn from the Semis of Marcheshvan, was Falt Ois, which comes out, Kinal, La'olam and the Vach from Parshas Lech Lecha. It's always Lech Lecha. Was Oich Bizman HaGolus, also during the time of exile, is those there's man v'megeta rois. That's the time in which we go out from asukim binyon regel, from being preoccupied in the holiday matters, as the Shach said before. Gate arayin nivacha diketeg. When you go into weekdays, that's not. I think this is quoted from the Alter Rebbe. But the Rebbe wrote down earlier in the Sikha, Yedrer darf wissen. Everybody needs to know. Ados darf ihm nicht geidem sein, a Gefühl von Atzus Chas v'Sholem. Everybody needs to know that this should not cause a feeling of sadness. God forbid. Oh, I'm leaving the holiday now. I'm going into weekdays. But Adrab, you need to do it with a great joy. Wissen, because you know, as Davkin in der Avodah, that specifically in this service, he becomes an agent of Hashem. Then you become, as the person, when you're a shliach like him, you become connected to Hashem Mamish. So durchfirun, the kabona el yoyne von lasis leis baradire betachtoini, to accomplish the supreme intent to make Hashem adir v'tachtonim. That's what he's doing now. You should be joyful and excited about it. Because those gilu mamish, this will actually be revealed in actual revelation b'chol olam kulei, in all of the world, in the geula mitzvah v'ashlem by the Mashiach tzidkenu, in the true and complete redemption through Mashiach tzidkenu v'venigla k'vay dabaye v'rol kol b'osay yavdov kipi Hashem dibar. When the glory of Hashem will be revealed, all flesh will see together that Kipi Hashem Diber. This is Mesichas Shabbos Parshas Lech Lecha, Tovshin Mem Aleph.